So, hello everyone. Welcome to yet another podcast here from Anomaly Incubator. Today, we'll be going over diet and nutrition. Like every other podcast, we'll start by drilling it into your head and why diet and nutrition is so crucial, the aspects of it. Then, I want to go a little more depth with the non negotiables, the non essentials, and the essentials. Then, I want to go into our experiences and what we do, and just kind of get a flow for y'all. This will be more of the superficial. This will be the basics that you need to master in order to master your physical realm. So when you master your diet and nutrition, you will also get much better sleep, workout, recovery, focus, attention. It all aids it all, and that's why it's so important. And that's also why I want to do this first podcast, just going over the basics, and then having yet another podcast going into the depths. So, welcome, Luisi. Tell me your hello.
Yeah, so I think that you pretty much introduced the session well. I will say that diet and nutrition is not like everything else. Of course, it's very much personalized and it's a journey that you have to take yourself. But again, today we're gonna try to, like always, provide the formula, the building blocks of mastering your diet, and we're also gonna at the end go a little bit into what do we do with our diet and how why do we do it as well. But yeah, I think that like the basics we're gonna talk about, like carbohydrates, proteins, fats, vitamins, minerals, water, like the relationship, how much of each should you eat, or based on your goals, that is. um, but yeah, it's gonna be an interesting one, and I'm letting Seb lead this one today.
Yeah. So what I want to drill into your head right now is just the importance of it. And I don't want to spend 15, 20 minutes going over the importance, but I want to say that if you truly want to master your focus, your work, if you want to get better at recovery, if you want to get better sleep, if you want to get better relationships, if you want to get better at speaking, if you want to get better at any skill, if you want to get better at better quality sleep and recovery, then getting your nutrition and diet in place is so important because take it as this. If you have a Ferrari, that's a very nice car. But if you feed it sunflower oil, it's not going to drive no matter what. So you need to fuel your body with the essential foods. And this is basically well, proteins, fats, carbohydrates, as well as vitamins, and also the quality of your water. That's quickly to link it in. Like Guisik said, it's very much personalized. Everyone needs something different. And that's also what I want to go over, just the diversity and how people need to experiment with their own diet and see what works for them. So, yeah.
Yeah, and another thing is that I've just noted or written down right now is today we're not going to be diving into poisons. So we're going to be more focusing on the holistic aspect of diet and nutrition and not talk about the things that are truly poisoning you, because there is so much to discuss for that theme that we're going to do it in a completely separate podcast where we're going to go, like, the reason why I'm saying this is because you mentioned sunflower oil, so vegetable oil, tap water, all of that poison, like that's something we're going to be discussing in a separate episode. Today we're just going to go and again introduce you into the basic concepts, basic parts, or rather than basic, let's say fundamental, right? And adequate diet and nutrition are crucial for elite performers because they provide the fuel and building blocks for energy, endurance, and recovery, like Seb said. It's again stressing the importance, stressing the why is because nutrition is a form of energy which you input. And as I discussed in previous podcast, when it comes to the physical level of reality, when it comes to the material plane, there is only three inputs or three uh, routes that energy can come into your physical existence. Number one is diet and nutrition. Number two is, uh, well, not diet and nutrition. I wanted to say diet and drink. So whatever you eat and drink. Number two is air. And number three is sunlight. Those are the only three methodologies that you can input energy into your system. And diet and drinking is the biggest part. So again, it is the enhancer of mental clarity, focus, decision making. When it comes to us elite performers, when it comes to never burning out, when it comes to never getting sick and shit like that, diet and nutrition is the key.
Yes. And like you said, we won't go into the real depths, but I want to go over the non-negotiables and the essentials. So let me just introduce you guys to what I would say is the biggest thing. I would say that you need to base your nutrition and diet on what your goal is. So if you want to build muscle and get better in the gym and take on muscle, then you have a completely different diet than someone who's trying to get more focused and someone who's trying to maybe even fast more or something like that. So it's basically experimenting and finding what works for you, because we can only say what works for us in our realms, for our goals, and for our work. We cannot say what will work for you, which is also a point that I want to go over. So let's basically cover what diet is and how it has been screwed over by the modern technology and like the social programming almost. So a good diet does not have anything other than water in it and then clean whole foods. This will say that no sweets, no candies, no sodas, no sugars, and no artificial white bread. It doesn't matter in your diet. That's not essential for your
Processed food
human
is
diet.
the worst shit. Processed food, like that.
Yes.
That's the whole group of what you're looking at. So when it comes to, like, it doesn't matter whether it's processed sugar, processed, this or that. Like anything that is not directly taken from nature given to you is a no-no. And yeah, sorry for interrupting. Go ahead.
So that's what I want to stress, because having a good diet is down to the fundamentals. You want to eat good, healthy, nutritious foods, things like nuts, avocados, meat, eggs. You don't want like all these. You can be a vegetarian if you want, but stop eating processed, unreal, unhuman foods. There's no reason to. If you're going to be a vegetarian, then eat nutritious nature food as well. So let me quickly go into why I eat what I eat, and then I kind of express what the importance of it is. So I mainly eat very high protein, very high fat, and very low carbohydrates. So I eat very many eggs. It will be salami, it will be sausages, it will be meat from different animals. And then I will usually have avocados to it. I will have a bunch of walnuts and almonds to it. I will use non-spreadable butter. So stop using spreadable butter. That's a topic for itself. And then I eat Greek yogurt with a bunch of nuts and dates as well, combined with fruits. So this can be kiwi, apples, it can be bananas, it can be whatever. But things from nature that you know where it comes from is so essential, because when you go into McDonald's, you have no idea what they put in those burgers, which take 2 minutes to make and will just hyper focus your dopamine levels. You have no idea what to put in them. You have no idea what they use to fry and what they use to cook the stuff. So knowing what you need to eat is huge. So I want you to take the scene for a bit and tell me what you think is the most essential to having a good diet and to having a good nutritional base foundation when it comes to this sort of.
So one of the things you already mentioned, which is the key component, is what is your goal and who are you when it comes to the career and when it comes to your work. Because if you are a physical worker, if you are a construction worker, if you're a farmer, if you are anything of that nature where you like stacking shelves, like, and you don't have any desire to um, improve your cognitive. And I know that most, I think that there is no one here listening to this that is that, unless they want to level up. And but most people are mind workers, right? They work with their mind. They have to think. And I get a lot of pushback on my 22-hour fasting and regime of what I eat. And the reason for that is because people seem as they can't function on such, and it's not little amount, because that's also another thing. It, it doesn't matter, like, volume wise how much food you eat. It matters their nutritional. So how many calories does it have? How many fats? How many protein? And when it comes to my body, it is sort of the same as Seb said. So protein or meat, a lot of nuts, and a lot of fat. Like my body. So this is another thing, right? When it comes to your body is living in modern society where you have trained your body to operate on empty calories, on sugar, on processed foods, which is not like, it gives you instant energy, but it's like lasting a very short period of time and you get hungry instantly. When you detox your body from it and you don't give it carbs and don't give it empty calories, and you start feeding it only with fiber and different sorts of fruit, which has a lot of natural sugar, and of course, like protein, your body will start to learn how to produce enough energy from fats rather than empty sugar and things like that. The reason why that is so important is because when it comes to your cognitive performance, when it comes to your focus and ability to put yourself in a state of flow, deep work, it is about not over, not giving your gut too much tasks, too many tasks, because again, the gut is the second largest system of nerves and everything. And you know, if if your second largest system of nerves and pathways is having to digest a lot of food, then your brain is not going to function. That is why after every meal you feel lethargic and you feel like, you need to go to bed. So yeah, again, it is important what you eat, when you eat, and how you eat it.
Yes, and I think it comes down to the fundamentals. I think it comes down to eat quality, high quality food and drink high quality water. And I also think it's not overcomplicating it, because yes, you need your essential vitamins and essential minerals and whatnot, but stop overcomplicating it and putting 100 different things in one thing. Eat, find. This is a huge one. I want people out there to experiment with their diet and nutrition and see how their body reacts to what they eat. So let's say they want to switch things up, and they might say, "Well, I want to start eating some eggs." Okay, take a day, eat some eggs, scrambled eggs, whatever it may be. Put some things on the side. It can be avocado, and it can be salami. That's what I do. And journal right after it. Wait an hour or two, and then see how your body feels. Because, like you said, it's not normal to feel lethargic after eating. Can you see how sad that sounds? Feeling tired after getting calories. That should be the exact opposite. journal after you have ate something, 1 to 2 hours after. See how your body reacts, and then take notes from that. And then next day, if you felt lethargic, try switching some things out. It can be try try cutting the avocado out, or try cutting the salami out, and just try the eggs for itself. Maybe putting in some nuts this time and a date. Maybe putting in some fruits this time, and see how your body responds now. And then it's finding what works for you, and then it's finding how much food you need to eat to maintain and then grow, and then how much food um, that your body can handle, so you don't overeat, and so you don't like feel lethargic and tired afterwards, because you want diet and nutrition to aid you in your goal. You want it to help you on your way to what you want to achieve. You don't want it to be a dopamine factor. You don't want to overeat. You don't want to have it as a comforting factor. You want it to aid you in your mission.
Yes, and I'm really trying not to go into fasting. Everything I want to say is about fasting, because fasting is the key to longevity, so lifespan longevity, and your cognitive performance, your health, everything. Fasting is the key to everything. And the reason why I say that is because as soon as you started to say, switch this, switch that, my mind instantly went to, yes, but first of all, go on a 3-day fast, like eat nothing for 3 days, only drink water for 3 days. And what is that? The thing that's gonna do for you is it's gonna reset your internal, it's gonna reset your, like imagine having a factory that's producing something, right? And you never clean out anything, right? So everything, like all the mechanisms, everything is, stuffed with access, and the wheels are not spinning properly. It's going like slower than usual. I mean, slower than the optimal speed. And that's what fasting does for you. It basically allows your natural to do its thing, right? So it cleans out everything. It refreshes your body. It gives it time to recover. The processes, everything. It's, again, I don't want to go too deep into it because fasting is such a big part that we have to, separate it out into um, another episode. But the the funny part is that well, what Seb said is so true. The podcast is going to be very short because don't overcomplicate it. Diet is so simple. The closer you move to nature, the closer you are to the truth. And what that means is that, look at what was before all of this industrial revolution. Look at what people had. They had a garden and they had animals, and that's what you should eat. There were no, there were no, and it hurts me to say this because I freaking love pasta and I freaking love a lot of this because it's good, for cooking, but it's not your everyday drug. And you should stick to eating, a lot of vegetables, a lot of meat. I mean, if you're not, supposedly worried about animals, but um, a lot of vegetables, a lot of meat, and a lot of fruit, and drown everything in good fats. What are good fats? It's things like coconut oil. So I eat an absurd amount of coconut oil, and I drink an absurd amount of extra virgin cold pressed olive oil. And of course, nuts themselves and meat themselves have a lot of good fats in them as well. Uh, Another thing which I'm still experimenting with, and I think it's more of a seasonal thing, is what Seb mentioned, that is Greek yogurt. Um, it seems that for me, I just can't eat it in winter because it causes too many skin problems, and I assume that it is because I'm not exposing myself enough to the sun and absorbing the vitamin D and everything that helps with your skin and everything. And yeah, I think that I mean, I have already shifted away from Greek yogurt in winter times, or rather when there is not enough sun. But all of those things are truly, truly of vital importance. Again, what are they? Fruit, vegetables, meat, and nuts. Period. We can end the line there. Like we can just do the outro at this point. But yeah, no, go ahead.
Yeah, so what you said, like with Greek yogurt, that you don't eat it in winter, it's also you experimenting, right? It's you figuring out that it doesn't work for you in winter and then you switch it out.
Yeah.
I want to go into more of the comforting factor of food. I think so many people eat way too much food, eat way too bad food because it's comfortable. And I've had this problem myself. Huge amounts, overeating. Because when I got into eating very clean and working very hard, my comforting factor would be food. And it wouldn't be any bad food, but it would be too much food. So instead of 4 eggs, I would have 8 eggs and just eat way too much at one time, making me way too bloated and making me way too lethargic. Tell me about why you think it's a comforting factor and how people can delete that comforting factor, because that's a huge point in why people can't get over that.
So it all comes down to our nature and how the systems in body function. And for instance, for you, the reason why it happened was because you were, first of all, um, let me just explain something about dopamine, right? So people are usually, and even us too, we call things like dopamine detox, but in reality, you're not detoxing from dopamine. You can't function without dopamine. What you're detoxing from is overstimulation so that your receptors can reset. Again, comes all back down to fucking fasting. But it is about the fact that, you know, when you start to eat clean, you get way less dopamine from it, right? Because all of the processed foods, all of the sugars, everything is dopamine, dopamine, dopamine. And it, it comes to whether you need to eat like a tub of ice cream while scrolling to TikTok to be satisfied, or can you stare at the wall eating like a banana and a fistful of nuts and find joy in that? And everyone who is right now saying, oh, you're so boring. Why would I stare at the wall eating? You know, it's like, listen, you cannot experience the true joys of life if you don't experience the baseline. And most people in today's society have not experienced their baseline, maybe even ever. They don't know what the baseline is or what the ground zero is. And I think that is poisoning people. That's so even when people say to me like, why do you care about anti-aging and age reversing at age of 22? Well, the reason is because the faster you start, the you know the bigger the compounding effect to come, right? Um, but yeah, I think that creates the point perfectly. So when you start to eat clean and start to do tasks that take longer, like let's say read a research paper, read a book, and not scroll to TikTok, your receptors need to reset. And what you did is, instead of enduring the pain and pushing through it for as long as the reset is taking, you went and you ate more, even though it was clean, it still gave you comfort, which is dopamine hits. Dopamine, dopamine, dopamine. But yeah, I have brainwashed myself into being really scared of dopamine And that's why I want to brainwash you as well, because when you manage to eliminate excess dopamine, you find enjoyment in things you never thought possible. One of them is literally staring at the wall. Because what's going to happen is all of a sudden, when you get back to your work and reading a research paper or having to do some deep work, it's going to feel so much better, so much more. It's going to have the sense of novelty because staring at a fucking wall is boring. And the same is with food. And I think that's your answer to as to why it happened the way it happened, why you started eating more even though you were eating clean. Comfort is found in dopamine.
And it definitely is. And I knew that, but yeah, my body just kind of needed it. But I've never ever sat down with like a huge tub of just sweets and looked at TikTok. Like, I've never been that type. But I've always eaten very much because I've trained for much of my life. And I've always brainwashed myself into thinking that I need to bulk, I just need to eat, I just need to take on mass, eat, eat, eat. But that's not right. And when I got into the space of fasting and much like very clean eating for your specific needs, people eat some of the worst food in the world and they have no idea. Like the people around me or people at the grocery store, they will buy things and they have no idea just how much it is destroying themselves. And I think because it's like a new age, it's all new. And I think in 30, 40, 50 years, we will all realize that all people are just getting screwed in the behind with all of the crap food they're eating because someday it will catch up to them. And many people have already have this, but someday it will catch up to them because the food is getting more and more processed. The food is getting more and worse and worse and worse. So yeah, it's diet and nutrition is finding the foundations, sticking to them over a long period of time.
And there is also this thing, right? So when for my fellow smokers out there, right? So people who adore smoking weed and it's funny to them how they have munches and then they eat the whole ridge and also everything else that it's edible in the house. But yeah, I've had that problem where anything that was edible was eaten by me. Um, but the point I'm gonna make here with it is weed is a tool which allows you to either spiral deeper into your doom or it allows you to rise above everyone else. And how that happens is if you smoke weed and you get munchies, like one of the most horrendous things I've done is a multiple day fast while smoking weed because the reason why so people really don't understand what happens or what's happening in the body when you get munchies. So whenever you become extremely hungry on weed is basically a stressor response. That's why most people also get horny and other things like that because their mechanism to survive is activated. And when they get paranoid, they inflict a great amount of stress and instead of them managing it rising above so this is again this is where the tool comes in, the tool part of weed. It's either it's going to make you more into an animal or either it's going to raise your consciousness into one of god. And when you can smoke a lot of weed and not eat for many days, you're going to understand my point. When you do a multiple day fast with THC in your blood, you're gonna see how clear your mind can become. And again, this is not to promote smoking weed and doing this, but it is for those who are either already doing it or were thinking about it. So I think that when it comes to my personal discipline, when it comes to my resilience, it all came out of weed, because I've learned how to feel all of that, how to feel as if I want to pleasure myself and my senses, but I didn't. It's about, again, isolating yourself and allowing observation. So observing what's happening. And when we tie this back into food, again, whenever you become hungry, ask yourself, how long ago have I eaten? What did I eat? And is it actually necessary for me to eat? Because this is a thing, again, that most people have against me, is I say that food is a drug, because it is, not itself, but it is as to what happens in your body. And again, whenever you become hungry, not starving but hungry, ask yourself, is this an automated process, or am I actually consciously choosing what to do?
Yes, I can really relate, right? Because I'm not really the weed smoker, but I can definitely say, because I was addicted to nicotine a long time ago. For I started really young, I think 13 or 14 years old. I got onto nicotine and I stopped it when I was 15. And that also makes you hungry, because when you are hungry, then take some kind of nicotine, the gremlin hormone, which is your hunger hormone, which is also very interesting, because when you're hungry, it's a hormone that fires. It doesn't mean that you are hungry, but it's your body saying that it's probably good to eat now, because we don't know when we're going to get food next, and let's just get something in the body. And that's not right, because that's a instinct from long, long ago. So when you are hungry, just know that it's a hormone that says to you, we should eat. Yeah, we should eat. But you can say no to it. You can say, no, I choose not to eat. And this is a conscious thought that I myself choose. And you can also kind of see the habits and routines of the gremlin hormone, because it is a creature of habit, which means that if you're typically hungry at 10 a.m., that means your gremlin hormone spikes at 10 a.m. Um, Usually because you don't get anything to eat before 10 a.m. and then it spikes, of course. But yeah, I think we pretty much covered it all. I mean, we don't really want to go into the depths of it, but this is pretty much the basics, like what you should eat, why you should eat it, how it affects the body, and the importance of it. And now we're kind of spiraling off to other topics, but yeah.
I also wanted to comment that, you say you can't relate, right? The problem, I think it's perfect. Again, as in most cases that we've already discovered, it's perfect because you have experience with something I don't, right? So I've never ingested tobacco in my entire life. I don't know what nicotine feels like. I have never done it, and at the same time, I've never really drank alcohol. But you have experience with nicotine, so you can explain certain things better to those people who are ingesting that, and I can explain something that you can't. And I think that's perfect harmony, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that, especially because I know in community of um, high performers and people from either, quote unquote Wall Street, because you've seen all the movies, but more so I'm talking about Silicon Valley and other uh, highly performing places. People are truly susceptible, or how should I say it? People are truly ingesting a lot of not only weed but also psychedelics, mushrooms, LSD, and other things. And again, it is a culture, it is something that we are a part of, and I think that it should be discussed openly so that it doesn't come to um, any incidences, right? Because most things start by being not discussed and suppressed. So, yeah, but to draw a bottom line, we do go off topic a little bit, even though everything is still connected. There are branches out of the same trunk, but I don't know. I really like it. There are still podcasts. They are not something structured. I mean, they are structured, but not in depth. But it's fun talking to you, Seb. And I think that every time we talk, we, educate people by doing so. So there should be no shame in going a little bit off topic as long as we're first of all aware of it, and second of all, we don't turn the podcast into something completely different. But yeah, final thoughts.
Yeah, that's good. I think people should have a general awareness of it all. Also how it all connects to everything else. Like you said, psychedelics is a big one. It's been spoken a lot about in the last couple of years. But it's also seen down upon, of course, because it's literally drugs. But
No,
well, it
because
should
it's
be
mind
classified as drugs. Um, but yeah, I think people should take accountability. I think people should take this and implement it. I think people should try to experiment with it and then find out what works for them instead of just listen. And that's also, people don't understand that what works for another person might not work for them ever. It's about finding what works for you, and it's about finding things to experiment with and then implement them.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's something you're gonna hear us say in every single episode. It's not about what we say, it's about what you discover, because it's a journey, it's a game of your life, not of ours. I mean, we are playing our own game, trying to elaborate on what we've learned so that we may inspire your actions, or point you in the correct direction. But it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to find the same efficiency in those things. And yeah, it's a personal journey. I hope that we brought some knowledge to you today. And yeah, do you have any last words, Seb?
Mm, Not really. I think people should literally just take accountability and know that there is something that they can achieve. They should take it into their own hands and not just leave it up to fate. So yeah.
Okay. So on that note, we're gonna finish today's podcast on diet and nutrition, which was again just the fundamentals, teasing you a little bit into looking it deeper and looking forward for the next one. And not only that, but also the full biohacking course inside the anomaly incubator, because in there, the depth that we're going to go and the structure, the insane clarity that we're going to provide on each and every topic, but also diet and nutrition, is going to be unmatching. So again, thank you all for listening. Thank you for participating and being here with us. It truly means the world to us, because it allows us to do what we love to do. And thank you, Seb, for your time, your attention, and I'm truly grateful for you being here on this journey with me.
Absolutely. Likewise. It's been great. Yeah, I think if people can get something out of this, it should be that they should take control of their own life, and they should really, really make something out of it. You only have one, but if you do it right, it's worth it. And yeah, thank you for your time, man. It's always a pleasure.